Can we start, guys?
Yes, are we live yet, Lori?
We are live. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lori Van Heeren. I'm the Deputy Director of the Independent Redistricting Commission. I want to first start by introducing our Spanish interpreter right now. Go ahead. I think we're good. Try again.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. My name is Brenda Lopez. I am a Spanish interpreter. If you need interpretation, please, come to me and I'll be right in the back. Buenas noches, mi nombre es Brenda López, soy la intérprete de español. Si necesita interpretación, voy a estar aquí presente. Venga conmigo. Gracias.
Thank you, Brenda. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this point, I will send it over to Commissioner Meal, who is chairing the meeting.
Thank you, Lori. I now call to order the public hearing of the Independent Redistricting Commission. There are commissioners in Payson and Window Rock joining virtually, and I'm joining virtually. We're also streaming the meetings online via WebEx and will be posted online afterwards via YouTube, so anyone can come and look at the meeting later. In Window Rock, we're under the jurisdiction of the tribal government, and you're required to follow the laws of the tribe while at this meeting. This includes wearing a mask to comply with the mask mandate. If you would like to make a public comment, you may do so by signing in with staff and filling out the public comment card. Even though this meeting began at 6 p.m., anyone can attend and submit a public speaker card at any time, and we will stay until the last speaker is heard. There's an American Sign Language interpreter and a transcriptionist who will be transcribing every meeting. Please speak slowly and clearly so we have a clear record of your input. And we really appreciate all of you being tonight and the input that we will receive. And at this time, we will introduce ourselves. I'm David Meal. I'm a commissioner from Pima County, live in Tucson, and I'm very thankful to be here tonight. And Shireen, Commissioner Lerner.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Shireen Lerner. I'm one of the commissioners, and I live in Maricopa County. Thank you all for being here.
And Vice Chair Watchman.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Derek Watchman, the Vice Chairman of the Commission. I represent Apache County. I'm from Window Rock, Arizona. Good evening and yate, everybody.
And we will now move on to agenda item 2, and the staff will read the rules of the meeting.
Vice Chair Watchman in Window Rock. Can you hear us from Payson?
We cannot hear you from Payson, and I missed you on the introduction. I did not see you. So please introduce yourselves from Payson.
Okay, I'm happy to introduce myself, but we have a broader just connection issue that we're going to need to fix to make sure we're all hearing each other. Commissioner Lerner, Vice Chair Watchman, are you connected?
This is Vice Chair Watchman. Can you hear me? We're here in Window Rock.
I am hearing everybody.
Okay, please introduce yourself, Vice Chair Watchman.
Yes, I'll do it again. Good evening, yate. I'm Derek Watchman, the Vice Chairman for the Independent Redistricting Commission. I'm the Democratic appointee representing Apache County.
And I am Shireen Lerner.
Thank you. My name is Erica Newberg. I'm the independent chair. I live in Chandler. And I apologize for some of the early audio issues, and perhaps now Commissioner Lerner is accessible.
I am. Can you hear me or not? Payson? You can. Okay. Hello, everybody. Again, my name is Shireen Lerner. I am one of the commissioners from Maricopa County. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate your time.
And with that, we will now turn it over to our staff to read the rules of the meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you. So the rules of the meeting are citizens may only speak when recognized by the chair or the presiding officer of the meeting if the chair is absent or has otherwise delegated hearing administration authority. In compliance with Arizona's open meeting law, speakers should confine their statements to the issue on the posted agenda, which is before the commission. Speakers are also requested to limit their comments to approximately 2 minutes. In an effort to allow for as many speakers as possible, the commission may adjust the time limits depending on the amount of speakers. Additionally, speakers are required to follow proper decorum. Speakers must use appropriate language. Foul and/or abusive language will not be tolerated. Any speaker failing to follow proper decorum or any other guidelines may be asked to leave. Any breach of the peace or disruption of a commission public hearing may be cause of report to law enforcement. We have a lot of speakers tonight, and we want to make sure that we respect the time for everyone. If someone has already expressed the same sentiment you wish to express, you may say so, and your comments will be recorded. If you have already expressed your thoughts at a previous meeting, you do not need to speak again. Your comments were recorded in the public record. This is a nonpartisan meeting. Please do not distribute political material in the meeting room. Opposing viewpoints may be expressed by the citizens present. As a courtesy, citizens are reminded to address their comments to the chair and the commission and not to the audience present. Please show respect for all speakers and avoid personal comments. Remember, the commission must hear all sides of an issue in order to make an informed decision. Also, here in Payson, and I believe at the other location, you can adjust your mic to your height. So please do so that we can make sure that we pick up your voice. At this time, we're going to move to public comment. And I believe on WebEx, we have President Nez of the Navajo Nation ready to speak.
Good evening to the Arizona Independent Redistricting Commission. I'm accompanied by our Speaker of the Navajo Nation Council and Council Delegate Elle Mckee in Twin Arrows, Navajo Nation. Thank you. We are having a leadership meeting here, and that is the reason why we are beaming in from Twin Arrows. And we appreciate the opportunity to present. So on behalf of the Navajo people, I extend my appreciation to the Redistricting Commission for having the Navajo Nation as part of this final round of public hearings. It's critical that the first people of this country have our voices heard in this redistricting process, which only occurs every 10 years. At the start of the redistricting process months ago, we spoke about the importance of the Navajo Nation being recognized as a community of interest as the commission considers redistricting plans. As we move forward in this process, I cannot emphasize enough that the entire Arizona portion of the Navajo Nation should remain within one district to ensure that we are fairly represented at every level of government and that we can effectively advocate for our policy positions on issues that impact our Navajo people. The commission must also consider our principles of redistricting, which include complying with the Voting Rights Act of 1965, keeping the native voting age population in the 60% plus range, and due to the 2020 census undercount in rural areas, such as the Navajo Nation, our high deviation needs to be considered. We have carefully reviewed the proposed maps put forth by the commission, and we are very concerned that the new maps will dilute the voices of the first peoples of this country and this state, as the partisan spread goes from a 6-point advantage to a 15-point advantage for our congressional district. A more politically competitive state is much more beneficial because it means members of both parties have to pay attention to issues that are of great importance to our people. Coming from a long line of strong and resilient ancestors who were raised through the teaching of our elders, we know what is best for our communities. Our voice must be heard and our voting rights must be protected and upheld. A fair redistricting process will provide our people the opportunity to elect the candidates of our choice and to hold our congressional and
Time,
state
Mr.
leader.
President. Time, sir.
Okay, thank you. And we will submit additional written comments. Thank you.
The next speaker will be the Speaker of the Navajo Nation Legislative Branch, Mr. Seth Damon.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for being allowing us to be a part of this discussion. And I thank the President of the Navajo Nation, my colleague, Honorable Elle Mckee, here this evening, and thank you, everybody listening in, as this is the last public comment period in order for us to go ahead and state the position of the Navajo Nation. As the President indicated, we are a people of this northern country and northern Arizona, and we have that government-to-government relationship. Not only ourselves, but the Navajos, Hopis, White Mountain Apache, San Carlos Nation, Havasupai, and Paiute nations. And we've had this for years. And that government-to-government relationship that has built us in order for us to be, most importantly, maintaining our sovereignty. And in that, staking our sovereign rights, we have ties to the land, whether it be our sacred places and our most western ranch places too. We are people of our northern nation, of our northern Arizona. We have commonalities amongst communities in the northern portion of Arizona, and we are similar interests in that are not part of what we consider metropolitan Phoenix. And what we're here today is to really stance and put aside all differences to maintain that. The Navajo Nation did go through a census count, and that census count was was deviated and was actually an undercount. And in that undercount, what we're still stating is that us as a Navajo people, we're sitting at a 57% percentile Native population right now, and we consider that 57% percentile to be something of our growth as a nation. We have over 400,000 Navajos now, and what we're trying to make sure is to protect their sovereign right of voting in order for us to go ahead and push that forward. We really want to thank you all for allowing us to speak this evening, but most importantly, we're here to maintain our threshold and try to push forward to get above that 60% Native American voting percentile vote. Thank you very much and have a good evening.
Our next speaker is Navajo Nation Council Delegate, Mr. Elle Mckee.
Good afternoon. This is Council Delegate Elle Mckee Jr. I'd like to continue what the president of the Navajo Nation and Speaker of the Navajo Nation Council has alluded to. We still have our challenges when it comes to voting, but we have to ensure that our citizens have an equal opportunity to participate in the election. We need to have our precinct boundary clearly defined so that there is no question about where our people should cast their ballot on election day. With all of that said, we are respectfully requesting the support of the commission to approve the Navajo Congressional Plan CDF 010. This plan is also supported by the White Mountain Apache tribe, the San Carlos Apache tribe, Havasupai, Paiute, and the Yavapai Nation. Thank you for your time. We stand ready to work together with the commission to finalize redistricting maps that are fairly and effectively in protecting the voting rights of our Navajo people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council Delegate. Our next speaker is Mr. Leonard Gorman. Following Leonard Gorman is Priscilla Weaver. Following Priscilla Weaver is John Watts, Luther Lee, Casey Lee, Stephen Begay.
Good afternoon. Gorman for the Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission. I have 2 points. One is that we've been closely following your maps, and we do not support the iteration that you put up for LD6 for reasons that you are allowing other districts such as 19 and 28 having the prospects of a more negative deviation than what the Navajo Nation has repeatedly requested and has even submitted white papers to talk about the legalities that pertain to the need to ensure that LD6, based on your iteration, provides for a much more greater negative % deviation. Second, we will be submitting a new map and in hopes that we are helpful to the commission. And that new map will be fitting into the map that you have on the bandwagon to solicit across the state. The new map provides for LD6 -5 deviation, NAVAP 56.39, LD7 a deviation of 0.26%, Native American voting age at 4.6, and then District 19 a -3.71 at a NAVAP at 0.0181. So we will be submitting this new map to you tomorrow morning. Thank you. Thank you.
Commissioners, for allowing me to give my statement and give me the opportunity to give my statement today. My name is Priscilla Weaver. I'm from Census, Arizona. My is a son in strong total contribution chain since a carne dash chedo a she I'm from Census, Arizona. That's a 2-hour, 20-minute drive from Window Rock, total of 234 miles. So this public hearing means a lot to me. I support the congressional draft map submitted by the Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission proposal, CDF010. Please redraw the district lines for CD2. The IRC draft map that I don't support has taken a highly competitive district and made it solidly Republican. When my father, Willie Weaver, returned home from military service in World War II, he was not allowed to vote. Now, in 2021, we Native Americans in the state of Arizona are being disenfranchised again. The representative will be chosen in the Republican primary. Native Americans will have no voice. I will have no representation in the USA as a Navajo tribal member. US Native Americans deserve a chance to elect a congressional representative of their choice. A competitive district gives them that chance. Thank you, Commissioners Newberg, Shiyaj, Derek Watchman, Lerner, York, and Mayo, for listening to my testimony about my support for Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission proposal CDF010.
Thank you. Yeah.
And just a translation, at the beginning of her speech, she did introduce herself and introduced her clan. So just to do the English translation for our commissioners and those that are listening.
Yat A. My name is John Watts. I live in Census, Arizona, on the Navajo Nation. And for the last 10 years, in my current districts, Native voices and Native votes have had power. When Natives speak up and show up at the ballot box, representatives at the state legislature and Congress have listened. But that may change because the approved IRC CD2 map has been drawn so that Native American voting power will be watered down and Native voters disenfranchised by adding Prescott, which places us in a non-competitive district. The proposed congressional map lumps the Native vote with Prescott and all of Yavapai County, whose voters are overwhelmingly non-Native. This strategy will dilute the Native vote until it's drowned out by people who don't know the issues in our Native communities, don't understand the needs of our Native communities, and won't be responsive to the voices and votes of our Native communities. Yavapai County must be split within several districts. The current approved IRC draft CD2 map is not competitive and violates the intent of the Voting Rights Act. We need to be in a competitive district where a representative must fight for every vote to win an election, so our voices are heard. A district that is too easy for one candidate to win will leave us with someone who doesn't need to fight for our issues. The current IRC approved map is an attack on the very rights that the code talkers fought to uphold for future generations. I support the CD2 map that was drawn by the Navajo Human Rights Commission. It's number CDF 010. Ahehe.
The next speaker is Luther Lee.
Bill, thank you. As mentioned before, we don't support your RFC draft map the way it's drawn out. The district is not competitive. It will hurt and silence our tribal voice. District 2 does provide strong representation to Arizona's tribal communities and is critical to our voice at the federal level. We also do not want Prescott and Santan Valley drawn into the district. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioner. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Casey Lee. I am the net and a voter from Kayenta, Arizona. I am very concerned about the way the current congressional district map has been drawn for my area, which was formerly known as CD1, but is currently labeled CD2 on the IRC map. CD1 has been a highly competitive district and has given us fair representation. The redistricting process is supposed to be fair and competitive, and what we see in the draft map now includes Prescott and Yavapai County, which increases Republican representation and do so decreases our Native American voting power. We already have smaller populations compared to the others, and we know why that is. Colonization, genocide, and systemic racism. We've had to always fight for our rights, especially voting rights. I fear in 2021, these unfair actions through redistricting will continue to further disenfranchise us if our Native voices and our votes are further diluted and diminished by turning my district into a Republican and taking away any real opportunity for me and my family to elect our candidate of choice. I do not want to be trapped in a district for the next 10 years that doesn't give me a fair shot. We can't take steps back. We cannot limit Native people and future Native candidates. I don't want to see Republicans using redistricting to steal a congressional seat. Any attempts to dilute our voting power by adding Prescott and Yavapai County or something similar is just wrong and should not be done. Therefore, I ask the committee to adopt the Navajo Nation Legislative and Congressional District draft map submitted by the Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon, Commissioners, staff, and guests. My name is Stephen C. Begay, a Navajo and an enrolled member. I vote at the St. Michael's chapter near here during elections. I gave my testimony at the first hearing at the museum in Window Rock and at the second hearing here at the training center. I have submitted a map plan for review, and I have objected to the rejection of the map submitted by the Navajo Nation at that time. But many suggestions have been made. The participants appreciate the work of the commissioners. There are differences in many communities of interest throughout the state. This redistricting process should not disenfranchise Native Americans in the final maps. The process should allow an opportunity for Native Americans to elect candidates of their choice. Their participation has made the elections more competitive in the recent times. The Navajo and federal government relationship and the treaties and agreements have geographically and politically compacted the people. The community of interest concept relies on the land and the resources available to the people and used for societal purposes. Raw materials like sand and gravel that are used for road improvements throughout the reservation are handled under old federal rules. The cleanup of abandoned uranium mines sites on Navajo lands is an interest of all residents. Other resources like water are constrained but shared by the people at large. It is important to have an independent commission to run the redistricting process, and more communities of color have participated in the process. Thank you for listening to me.
I have 3 additional speakers here in Window Rock. The next speaker is Janie Parrish. After Janie Parrish is Shannon Parrish. And then after Shannon is Candace Jesus. Janie Parrish, once.
Yate, hello commissioners. Thank you for coming back to Window Rock. Since the first Congress in March of 1789, there have been 12,415 people elected to serve their constituents. I would like to see one Navajo Nation member serving. We are already redistricted, in a sense, because state boundaries, not ours, divided our people. Yet it was CD1. We had the highest percentage of Native Americans in any congressional district in the country. We are not there yet, but we had a chance to get one person elected out of 12,415 members. My goal is to let every child know that representative democracy is for them, that they can grow up and serve in Congress or beyond. The current draft map for CD2 not only doesn't get us there, it reverses course. It sends a chilling message that you have to be white, Republican, and represent rural Arizona. And that's really too bad. We are rural Arizonans too. And we have a history with this land, and we care for it in ways that are not understandable to someone who's not seeing Arizona for the first time. The draft map that adds Prescott and Yavapai County reduces our percentage of Native American voters. CD2 will not be the most Native district in the country anymore if we follow this lead. And we'll tell our children that we had a shot, or we have to wait another 10 years or 20 years. There are now 15 tribal nations who have young people who are asking for a fair shake and a fair shot at representation. It's not too late to do the right thing. Do not dilute our Native American voting power. I ask the IRC to adopt the legislative and congressional district maps submitted by the Navajo Nation by the Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission. Thank you.
Good evening, Yate. My name is Shannon Parrish. I'm a citizen of the Navajo Nation, and I'm a voter in Apache County. I am concerned that the congressional draft map CD2 has changed my district from being highly competitive to being a Republican district. I know that every vote in my current district counts, and I have seen my congressional representative work hard to make sure that all of my issues and the issues of my community and many other communities are addressed. Our current representative works for veterans, both on and off the tribal lands. My dad is a veteran and has always fought for our right to vote and fair representation. If Republicans are given a chance to consistently win elections without having to work for every constituent or genuinely include communities like mine, I know that our voting power will be diminished and I will not have the same quality of representation that I have now. Adding more Republicans to my district by redrawing the map will only further diminish Native American voters and everything that we have worked so hard for. Therefore, I ask the panel to keep our district map as close to the current one. I would also ask the panel to approve maps submitted by the Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission for our congressional and legislative districts. I want to see a map that will encourage the election of candidates who will work with Indigenous people and not against us. Thank you.
Good evening. Yacht Asia A Caden Susian Share, Touchy Inishly, to Ohana Bushes Chin, Na Caden Dashiche, Ashihe, Dashnale, Glacialagai de Nasha, Nays Nash Nahe. I am in 5th grade. I go to school at Saley Public School. Today I am here.
Okay. Just to let you all know, I'll do the English translation. She introduced herself, gave her name and what clans that she belonged to, and told her age.
Today I am here on behalf of my Nolly lady and my relatives from White Clay, Arizona. My family wanted to be here today, but are working or too nervous to talk. I am nervous myself, but I'm going to do my best. I'm speaking for them. First, I want to say that Native Americans deserve a voice. The current draft map is not fair. I'm here to ask you to change it to be fair. My family has recently gotten involved with voting at the federal and state level. We are now starting to see more Native American involvement, and this is because the maps were fair and competitive. We need a fair chance to be heard. I want to run for office one day, and that means I need and want to have a fair chance. I would like to thank you all for letting me come up here and hearing me speak. Please consider my requests and change the current draft maps to be fair. Ayahat.
Our final and last speaker here in Window Rock thus far is Elle Mckee.
Yate shea Elle Mckee she Wanagan Schlont Hatchin A the Shia does it plan A the Shinala Kitchin A the Shiche Ganaro Arizona the A is chain there a call at Kida Kodo Nakita that Shinahayada Bia A off the reservation at the Santa Sheila Salt Lake City there. Ashlatino Nova the question ho. Adea Sebeti Nova Atlashina. So mine what's a question?
Good evening. My name is Geraldine Kiyazi, and I'm the daughter of Elle Mckee. And I'm going to go ahead and help my mother with her comments here, and I'll speak in English on her behalf. Hello, my name is Elle Mckee. I'm a citizen of the Navajo Nation and a strong voter in Apache County. I would like to make sure our tribal voting power is not decreased. We have worked so hard to get where we are. Being able to choose our own candidates of choice is very important for our representation at the state and federal level. I remember a time when we could vote or even have Native Americans running for office. Today, it's getting better, and this is because many of us have fought to have the right to vote and to have fair maps so that we can have a chance to run and win. We have to keep this progress moving, and this means we can't go backwards. We can't have extremists trying to control how we all vote or who runs for office because they have shown many times they do not work with tribes or even want us to vote. For this reason, we have to have fair maps, and I ask the committee to consider and adopt the map submitted by the Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission for LD6 and for the congressional district. We cannot split the Navajo Nation from the counties of Apache, Navajo, and Coconino or border towns. We contribute greatly to the counties and businesses in those border towns. Our livelihood depends on one another. Removing the border towns from LD6 only encourages more separation. We are better people if we work together and we get along together. I support the Navajo Nation maps for both the congressional and legislative maps. It makes everyone accountable for our state and our great Navajo Nation. We thank you, Ahiya, and thank you for giving us the time and the opportunity to talk in front of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will turn it over to Payson's 95 speakers.
Thank you, Michelle. Yes, we have 95 speakers, and I will call you 5 at a time. And if you wouldn't mind lining up so that we could get to the mic faster, it would be appreciated. Thank you, Payson, for having us in your community. And the first 5 speakers will be Mayor Payson, Tom Morrissey, then James Ferris, Payson Town Councilman, then Richard Lunt, Greenlee County Supervisor, then Jose Angel Medina Sr., Town of Miami Councilman, and then Shirley Dye, Green Valley Water Board Chair.
Thank you. I've already been introduced as a mayor, and I am also a veteran of the United States Army, and I have really the honor of welcoming you all to Payson. This is very, very important to all of us. We all have skin in the game. I want to thank the commission, especially the chairwoman, for presenting what I consider to be a very fair map that you have presented up to this point. I'm talking about the legislative district and the maps in general. I believe that the map is exactly what will provide fair representation. It appears now, however, that politics is now becoming a factor where it has no place and should have no place. For example, to put Payson into a community of shared interest with the Navajo Nation would be, in my opinion, violate the very principles of the Voting Rights Act by watering down their deserved representation for the sake of political gain, as I see it. I urge you, I plead with you, to follow the Constitution and give us fair representation driven by fairness and not driven by political lobbyists and special interests. This country belongs to the people, we the people, and that includes all of us in this room. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is James Ferris. On the Payson Town Council, and I thank you for the hard work a task like this requires. And a special thank you again to Erica Newberg for not missing one single commission meeting. So, and thank you for listening to us back in July, which resulted in the IRC draft map that put Gila County in a district of common interest, and that district is 7. We want to be in a district that represents commonalities of interest. Tribal communities do not share our community common interest. We have been dealing with issues of securing our CC Cragen water source, which includes restoring our forest. We have had the Lion Springs 260 highway project pulled out from under us several times. With the IRC draft map, we finally have renewed hope that some of the issues that are facing the newly drafted District 7 may finally be addressed. I support the IRC draft map that creates communities of true commonality. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, I'm Richard Nunn, Chairman of the Greenlee County Board of Supervisors. Thank you for your work on the 2020 census redistricting maps. Greenlee County has reviewed them and find, generally speaking, the proposals in draft maps CD 7.1 and LD 10.0 are acceptable to Greenlee County. Greenlee County has been placed in proposed Congressional District 6 and proposed Legislative District 19. Our local economies, which are based in mining, agriculture, including ranching and outdoor activities, these common issues define much of what the core of our communities in District 6 are. As for Legislative District 19, Greenlee County strongly prefers the adopted LD draft map 10.0. We feel it imperative to keep LD 19 as set forth in draft LD map 10.0 and not separate the border from the rest of the district. The areas along Arizona-Mexico border share communities of interest with more than one neighboring community. However, to assume that this community has its strongest ties to Latino communities in Pima and Santa Cruz County over the Latino communities in the remainder of Cochise, Graham, and Greenlee County simply attempts to put form over substance, while ignoring agriculture and ranching interest and border issues common to Cochise, Graham, and Greenlee counties. Additionally, having to be represented by 3 senators and 6 representatives is important to us. Thank you once again for your efforts.
I actually have a follow-up question, and it's not, you wrote a compelling letter. So I'm actually asking a question in response to that. With what you're asking, is there any way to accomplish as much as what you want, but making the districts more compact and contiguous? Just a question. And you don't have to necessarily answer it now, but that's a challenge that I'm going to present to you.
Thank you. And as I stated, we generally accept those 2 maps, but we don't want, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jose Angel Medina, better known as Angel in the community, and I want to thank you for all your work and everything that you've done for us. A little bit about myself. I'm a town councilman for the town of Miami, and I've worked for the copper mines, one in particular for 43 years. I served my country as the Air National Guard reservist for 24 years. I'm 71 years of age, and 55 of those years I lived in Gila County, and that's my main concern. I kind of lean with Councilman Jim from Payson and Mayor Tom Marcy on their choice, but I'd also like to add that I'm very interested in the +5 Eastern County issue. So I don't know if that's carrying much weight, but I thought I'd throw that in. My concern is that I've lived in Phoenix for 10 years. I went to a fantastic school. We learned a lot about politics from grade school on through high school. So since that grade, that age, I've been following politics all my life. And what I've seen is very detrimental to Gila County, in my opinion, because we've been divided for 10 years, which brought up a lot of suspicion between the north and the south portion of the county. So I've got so much to say, and I'm watching that clock running down. But anyway, again, I want to thank you, and I hope you understand where I lean on the topic. Okay, so thank you very much.
Good evening, I'm Shirley Dye. I've lived in Payson for 17 years, and I have served on the Green Valley Water Board for 7 years. I'm also actively involved in many groups here in the town, and many of us have met 3 times this past week and a half, between 50 and 75 people in attendance each meeting. We have studied proposed adjustments to the IRC 10.2 map to see what effects would be on the surrounding districts. A great majority of us supported keeping the IRC 10.2 map as it is, since it has respected our rural Arizona communities of interest. Thank you, Chairman Newman, for trying to be as fair as possible following the legal redistricting requirements. We did not know about the Flagstaff plan to form their own district and thus force population from our rural district to the Native American Tribal District until Monday night. We had a meeting with 75 folks last night and discussed why they wanted to support the IRC 10.2 map, as we have very little community of interest in common with the various tribes or the urban Flagstaff area. The reservation lands and our rural communities have come from very different cultures to settle in Arizona. Rural Arizonans have worked hard to develop our ranching, timber mining, hunting, and now tourism industries, and those traditions run deep as we work to protect our forests and our watersheds. We need our rural voice represented at the state legislature. It is my request that we keep the urban Flagstaff with the tribal district, as they have much interaction with the tribal people, giving them educational, healthcare, social, and economic support. It is too late in the game to make such major changes to your IRC 10.2 map across the state. Thank you very much.
And the next speakers are Mia Bessich, Mayor Superior, Byron Lewis, Councilman from Snowflake, Andy McKinney, Vice Mayor of Star Valley, Al Gameros, Mayor of Globe, and Jim Muir, Board Member.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners, and those online. Thank you for your time, your patience, and most importantly, the integrity it takes to fulfill your positions here. This is a big job that you have, and we appreciate your work. I'm here because last night the town of Superior did approve a resolution to support the 5 Eastern Counties district that has been proposed, and there's a map that keeps all of us together. Communities like Superior, Kearney, Mammoth, Oracle, Globe, Miami, we really need to be able to stay in a rural district versus being in an urban district. That's been of a critical concern for us. As someone just said, our economies are linked together, tourism, mining, agriculture, those are all important things, and our leaders need to be able to understand the nuances to those particularities in our economies. But most importantly, we also understand that our tribal friends are also looking to maintain some kind of, maintain their communities of interest as well. And that's also important to make sure that you're mindful of that in your final decisions. Adding Flagstaff and Prescott into our congressional district would obviously create a lot of unfairness to our much smaller rural communities that need a lot more attention when we're talking about federal issues that affect our communities. And with that, thank you very much for your time and patience. My name is Mila Besic, and I am the mayor of Superior.
Good evening. Thank you for your time, and I'm glad you've had safe trips here. I'm sure there's other places you would rather be than here tonight, but we're grateful for your presence. My name is Byron Lewis. I'm a sixth generation born and bred and raised in rural Arizona, serving as a council member for the town of Snowflake. And my constituents overwhelmingly are in favor of supporting the 5+ county, Eastern County proposal. Of the conversations I've had with hundreds of individuals there are a handful who do not favor that. Almost all are opposed to the proposition that has come late to the game from Flagstaff. One of the observations I have made over the last several meetings is that we have had many of the individuals born and raised on the reservation that have now lived off reservation, but still have ties to their homelands, seeking to reservationize the communities in which they've moved to. I would never consider combining, for example, the Navajo and the Apache nations, because they are diverse and different individuals, and putting them in one legislative block because of their differences. For that same reason, cultural, economic, political differences, rural Arizona deserves to have a chance to be reunited. They've not had a common voice since 2011. Their differences run deep. They are political, they vote different, they have different outlooks, they have a different economic base. There is no casino anywhere in rural Arizona other than on the reservations, for example. Representative example of these differences can be found in the water adjudication. One representative covering all of these individuals would not be a good situation. No man, legislator, or woman can serve two masters, and a house divided would not stand. You have an opportunity for a tremendous legacy. Please make a decision that will last.
Madam Chairman, council members, my name is Andy McKinney. I'm the vice mayor for the little neighboring community here that you might have come through, Star Valley. I'm here to speak in support of the map that you guys have made, the 10.2 map that suits me to the T. It unifies the communities of interest that I am a part of as a member of citizen in rural Arizona. I'm connected to our friends at all through Gila County, and then further down in the Copper Corridor. There's mining interest after mining interest in these little towns all the way down to Oracle. We like that just fine. I'd like to limit my comments to the legislative district map, because that's what I'm most familiar with. We have an opportunity to unify all of Gila County, which my friend Angel has mentioned, has been snipped right in the middle. Gila County is a poor county. It's the third poorest county by per capita income in the state of Arizona. And we're also old. We're poor, we're old, and there's not very many of us either. There are less than 60,000 in the whole county. There's a proposal out there in the ether to take 70,000 people from Flagstaff, cram them down into a Flagstaff-friendly district, forcing another 70,000 people to be squished one way or another throughout the domino effect throughout the state of Arizona, with impacting legislative district after legislative district. You guys have spent an awful lot of time and good, strong thinking and effort to produce the 10.2 map. I applaud that and I support it. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Al Gamaros. I'm the mayor of City of Globe. Like Mayor Besic had stated, that we also passed a resolution this month in support of the 5+ eastern counties. The people of rural Arizona had a voice in the legislature until 2011. Our region was robbed of that voice by cutting us up and joining us up with urban communities. It is not right to divide up rural communities, as it is not right up to divide up urban communities. Like Apache Junction, Gold Canyon deserve to have their own voice for their urban issues. Eastern Arizona deserves to have their voice for rural issues. We are our own minority as rural people, so please do not rob our voice for another 10 years. Please support the 5+ Eastern County proposal. Rural and urban have different issues, and we want our voice as rural communities. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jim Muir, the board members with the Green Valley Water District. Sorry about that. I'm a combat veteran, and I'm a proud member of the community of Payson, Arizona. First of all, I want to thank each and every one of you for your tremendous efforts and your work that you have completed. You people have done an outstanding job. I 100% support the maps that I see here tonight. I think that they're excellent. It appears to me that you have really put some time and effort and looked at the laws and have put together what I consider to be some outstanding maps. Now, I heard earlier some comments about commonality, communities of interest, we want to be together and stuff like this. And when I see the blue area there on, I believe it was District 2 that you have drawn, that puts together communities of interest. I know that here in Gila County, the tribes here have stated that they want to be in the same district. They want the same county supervisor. And I see that that's what you've done there. And I want to applaud and I want to thank you for that. I support both the Legislative District 7 map that I see here and the congressional map that I see here. And again, I want to thank you very much for your time and effort and your good work, your excellent work. Thank you.
Our next 5 speakers, and please come up in any order. As soon as you get to the front, you can come up and speak. Chris Morrissey, Gary Morris, Scott DeLaurentis, Daniel Roberts, and Joseph Rizzo.
Hello. Madam Chair and Commissioners, welcome back to Rim Country. Sorry for the smoky atmosphere, but we're starting our control burns, something that we live with up here. My name is Chris Morrissey. I am from Payson. I had the pleasure of addressing you in the July meeting, and I'm thanking you for the opportunity to do this again. We sent you off with a fair number of requests, and when we look at the maps and the latest version, 10.2 of the CD and the LD7, it looks to me like you got pretty close to what we requested. I know there's another version out there people are kind of pushing for, but I think what you have here has captured the communities of interest and the population requirements that you needed. I guess the only concern I had was we were beginning to hear some rumblings about moving Flagstaff in the district, out of the district, in the tribal area, out of the tribal area, moving us in and out. None of that is going to work as well as what you've come up with. So again, appreciate really all the time and effort. This was a monumental task, and we're not a happy group anyway. So yeah, I think you just did a great job. But anyway, thank you so much for your time and attention. This is a 10-year decision, so we're pretty serious about it. And we appreciate that time and effort. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Daniel Roberts, and I live here in Payson, Arizona. I would like to thank the Commission for their time and hard work. Obviously, you guys spent a lot of time and effort on this in this entire process, and I appreciate that and wanted to convey that. That being said, I would like to state that I support the Commission's latest map for District 7. the Gila County area. And I do not support Flagstaff in our district, as I believe that their community of interest is not the same as ours. And I cannot support the alternative map model. Thank you for your time.
I'm Joseph Rizzo. I'm a resident of Payson, and you guys have had a very difficult job because you've got to juggle population, geography, boundaries of communities of interest, district lines using maps that make sense. It's a difficult thing to accomplish. Rural Arizona asked that their interests be considered in redistricting because their community interests in wildfire protection, water rights, and mining issues are paramount to them. The 10.2 draft map, as it currently stands, does address the community of interest for rural Arizona, and I thank the board and wish to express my support for this draft map. The district that includes Payson is as geographically compact as practicable, meets the population requirement, takes into consideration our community of interest. Please don't change it. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dino De Laurentiis. I'm a resident of Payson. We just moved here last January. Nice rural community. Thank you, Commission and Erica Newberg. Support the Commission's latest District 7 and the Gila County area. I do support that. We don't want Flagstaff in our district. They are an urban collegiate community. Also, we hope and support, we hope you don't support the other groups' alternative map, support 10.2. Any major alterations to the mapping, such as intersecting Flagstaff, has major trickle-down impacts to the major district maps. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Madam Chair, I want to thank you for all your leadership in successfully guiding the commission to this stage in the event. It's a very difficult task. To all the commissioners, thank you for the challenge and time-consuming work that you've done and put forth for the citizens of Arizona, especially the work adhering to the mandated community of interest criteria. My name is Gary Morris. I'm the chairman of the Gila County Republican Party. The party endorses the commission's current proposed maps for legislative 6 and 7, that's the 10.2, as well as the proposed congressional maps. Party does not endorse the 5+ county proposed alternative for legislative districts 6 and 7. Party does not support the Coconino County Board of Supervisors request to insert Flagstaff into the proposed legislative districts 5 or 7. There are no real community of interest criteria that fits either of the two legislative districts with Flagstaff. As discussed with other speakers, the trickle-down effect affects many other districts. The party does not support the proposed changes presented at the Pine Top meeting. And today, that would push the proposed District 7 into reservation lands or bring the reservation into the district. There are no, and I mean no, demonstrated community interest in these two areas. Further, moving non-tribal population into a reservation district dilutes the voting possibilities for the tribal members and could very well be in violation of the U.S. Voting Rights Act related to the majority-minority issue. As you move forward in this project, I'd ask you to continue to work at the big picture, particularly the mandated communities of interest, and not get buried in last-minute radical proposals or large number of low-priority issues. Thank you very much.
Our next 5 speakers are Perry Klein, Donald Klein, Carl Stolze, Jane Evans, and Sue Ann Loughton.
My name is Perry Klein, and I live in Star Valley.
a rural community. While I respect and admire my Native American neighbors, I have little in common with their community, sovereign nation, their customs and lifestyles. I request that the draft back map be used to delineate the political boundaries keeping the rural areas together and not including any large metropolitan areas. Thank you, Madam Chairman and the Commission.
Good evening, everyone. I really want to thank you for all your hard work. I know it's a very difficult process. My name is Donald Klein, C-L-I-N-A. I live in Star Valley, Arizona. I'm an Air Force veteran. I support your latest map for District 7. I have no commonality of interest with Flagstaff or any Indian nations. I want the map to remain as shown without dilution. Please continue your commitment to the 6 mandates, and it's time to adopt the latest mapping proposals. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Jane Evans, and a lot of this has been said before, so I'm going to be a little redundant. First of all, thank you all so much, and Erica Newberg, for your leadership. I know this has been a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, and we are really very grateful. I do support the latest 10.2 draft map for rural Arizona. It shows that you have listened to and have incorporated many, many of our requests. Our map doesn't satisfy everyone, but it does put our communities of interest together, which is so important. We are a rural area, and our interests are very different than those of the Native American tribes or Flagstaff. So please do not try to combine different communities of interest. We need to stay together with the rural counties as reflected in your 10.2 draft maps. To change it would have a major negative impact on several districts, which at present are fair and balanced and best represent the communities of interest and common challenges within them. Thank you again for listening to us.
Good evening. My name is Carl Stolze. I live in Star Valley. I'm not an elected official, just a plain and simple senior citizen. So first of all, I'd like to thank you for your very effective and hard work. It's not easy to bring all these different interests under one head, so to speak. Basically, I second the comments of our mayor in the Star Valley, who was here before. So I support the current proposal for District 7, the way it is. And furthermore, we don't want Flagstaff to be moved in our district, and I object basically District 7 to be pushed onto the reservation. Thank you very much. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. My name is Sue Ann Luton, and I live here in Payson. And I want to thank you very much for your hard work. A lot of what I'm going to say has been said, but we all have to say our say. So I agree with the latest map, District 7, Gila County area. I think that you have listened to the needs of our county, and I think that having the rural counties together really helps our people that we would, oh God, I'm so sorry. The people that we would elect hear the kind of things that we deal with, the forests and the water and all that kind of thing. We don't have anything in common with the Navajo nations as far as our ruralness, and so I ask that you don't push us into there or Flagstaff down in with us. Thank you again for your hard work.
Our next 5 speakers are David Loughton, Mike White, Pat White, Darlene Yonker, and Ruth Waterman.
Hello, my name is David Luton. I'm a new resident here in Payson. My wife and I moved to Payson early last year. And one of the reasons why we decided to move here is because it's a rural community and we enjoy that type of community. I do support the current maps that are proposed. I believe that it creates a good community of interest for the rural communities. And it also creates a good community of interest for the copper corridor. Once again, thank you for your efforts in putting together these maps. I realize how difficult it is to balance all of these issues. Thank you.
I'm Pat White. I live in Star Valley. I thank you. I'm impressed that you were willing to undertake anything like this where you willingly and knowingly take on a thankless task. So that said, I would still thank you for your efforts to your commitment to the mandates described in the law for the map. I'm in favor of the latest map for District 7, the Gila County area. Payson, rural communities, Flagstaff, the Navajo Nation have the similar commonalities of pigs and piranha. If you want to allow us to have a like district, there's no way that these three groups could ever be placed together and be represented fairly. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mike White, a 10-year resident of the Payson area and also a very proud combat veteran. I'd like to thank you for the excellent job you did in the current version of the maps. I think it was very well thought out. I want to go on record as stating I strongly support the way you've drawn that. I do not support pushing District 7 onto the reservation. I'm not sure they'd want us pushed in there anyway. Nor do I support pushing Flagstaff, which is completely different than this area of rural Arizona, pushing them into our district. So I please respectfully request that you keep your good work the way it is and don't make those unnecessary changes. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for having us here tonight, giving us the opportunity to voice our opinions and for the work you've done to be able to facilitate this. My name is Ruth Waterman, and I live in rural Payson and love this country, love this community. And I'm here tonight to stand in support of the Rural IRC 10-2 plan as it stands. We are a diverse state, and each area deserves representation by persons who know their particular needs. The Native Americans deserve representation by someone who knows and cares for what their needs are. We in rural Arizona also deserve representation by those who understand and who care about our needs. Please retain the rural district the IRC is currently supporting. And thank you again for having us here tonight.
Good evening. My name is Darlene Yonker, and I live in the beautiful town of Payson. First, I want to thank your committee for doing a pretty thankless job. It certainly is hard to please everyone. I appreciate the hard work and attention to detail you have given the remapping effort. While the IRC final draft maps are not perfect, they are competitive, fair, and balanced. Some people are pushing to put urban Flagstaff in the new LD7 and remove rural Payson, Sholo, and a few other rural communities. They want to add them to the tribal lands to make up for the population loss of removing Flagstaff from the tribal lands. Those communities proposed to be removed from LD7 are primarily Anglo rural communities, which have very little in common with the tribal lands. And much of the new LD7 and CD2 are rural and also have little common interest with urban Flagstaff. It is evident your committee has given much thought about communities of interest, and I really appreciate that. The IRC final draft maps as presented do a fine job of grouping these communities together. I fully support the IRC final draft maps and urge you not to change them. Thank you for the opportunity to address you.
Our next 5 speakers are Rebecca Carr, Warren Tice, Tim Deegan, Angela Gadar, sorry, and then John Freemuch, John F. Freemuch. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Rebecca Carr, and I'm a resident of Star Valley and a Republican Precinct Committeeman for Star Valley. I appreciate all your hard work and thank you for your time. I appreciate the fact that you took into consideration the communities of interest as a priority factor. And with that said, I support your current mapping proposal, and that's it. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
My name is Angela Godak, and I'm from just a little bit east of Star Valley, Diamond Point. I am a 4th-generation Paysonite. My great-grandfather homesteaded an area up in Washington Park, and my dad was born and raised 12 miles west of Payson. Ranching families, rural, of course, and I also want to thank you too. Yeah, you've had a hard job, and we just thank you for all your efforts on this. Just know that we appreciate everything you've done. I do support the District 7 map, the IRC 10.2 map. It does reflect the geographical compactness, which is a rule that they need to follow. It also reflects, it is well balanced. And so we do like that, the way it stands as is. We thank you for that. I don't want Flagstaff and the influences of Flagstaff. They're very different than Payson or even Globe and some of these other rural areas that we're talking about. We don't want them in our district, and we don't really want to push District 7 into the Navajo Nation, the Native American lands. So we just thank you for your help and your work again on all this, and God bless you, and that's it.
Hello, my name is Warren Tice. I live in Star Valley down the road. We've heard from many eloquent speakers tonight who've covered all of the technicalities, the details that go into the drawing of these maps. I just want to go on record as saying that I support the maps that are proposed for the new LD6 and the CD2. And I think what I've heard here tonight is it seems like the common issue that just about everybody is concerned about is the communities of interest. I think that's probably about the overwhelming concern that everybody has. Having said that, I'd also express that I'm totally against incorporating Flagstaff into our area or pushing us into the land of the tribes. And for me, that seems to be the overriding issue also. I want to thank you for the hard work that you have put in. We all respect what you've done. We appreciate it. That finished.
Good evening. My name is Tim Deegan. I'm a resident of Star Valley. I want to thank the commission for their work. In the interest of brevity, I'll just keep it, I've heard a lot of things tonight, but I support the commission's latest map for District 7, Gila County area. Don't want to see Flagstaff in our district because I don't believe there's a community of interest there with us. And I don't agree with pushing District 7 onto the reservation. Thank you kindly.
And I'll try again. If your name is John and your middle name has an F or a T, I'm sorry, I can't read the writing. And it looks like Temunk. Does that sound familiar? No. Okay. Our next 5 speakers are Greg Freested, Roseanne Watts, John Metzger, Pam Dirks, and Charlie Bell.
Good evening. My name is Roseanne Watts, and I'm a resident of Payson and also treasurer of the Rim Country chapter of the Arizona Republican Assembly. And I support as all the previous speakers, I support the proposed map. We don't want Flagstaff in our district or be pushed into the Navajo Nation because of common interests. And I do appreciate all your hard work and that you've put into this, and I thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Charlie Bell. First of all, I want to thank you for all your hard work, your sacrifice, your time, energy, and I know that you would probably want to be somewhere else. I am in support of the latest map of District 7, 10.2. I think that Navajo Nation would be better served if they want to be part of Flagstaff. The Navajo Nation has their medical, behavioral health, they shop, communicate, they live in the Flagstaff area. And I think as a nation, they would be better served through their Indian tribe. I'm grateful for the Dene people. I've worked with many Native Americans in the state of Arizona. Please continue to stick by your maps that you've done. They look fair, and they look that they're focused with the rural communities here of Arizona. Again, thank you for your time, for your commitment, and for your sacrifice.
Hello, my name is John Metzger, and I'm a resident of Payson. I have appreciated that the commission has applied communities of interest as a priority factor, which excludes us from joining with the Indian Reservation or Flagstaff. What you have presented looks well balanced and I think should be adopted. And I thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today and for listening to us this summer when we spoke of a rural community of interest district. The commission has spent many months listening to the public and working on the maps. The last draft maps show a balanced version that can serve Arizona over the next decade. So welcome to Rim Country. My name is Pam Dirks and I live in Payson, also known as the heart of Arizona. In regards to the Flagstaff map that we're seeing come up lately, I would like to note that Rim Country and the White Mountains are not the Colorado Plateau. As the Discover Flagstaff website states, this is in regards to their history and culture. Flagstaff is the heart of the Colorado Plateau, a region known for its rich Native American history. But more importantly, the article continues, this Native American heritage still permeates the culture today as tribal lands cover more than 31,000 square miles in this region, and are home to numerous tribes. To learn more about the diverse native cultures of the Colorado Plateau, visit Flagstaff's world-renowned Museum of Northern Arizona. In the Navajo Hopi Observer News website, there's an article this month, November 3rd, and on their website it says, proudly serving the nation and Hopi nations, Flagstaff and Winslow, Arizona. The Flagstaff City Council is considering beginning their meetings with an acknowledgement of Native tribes in the region. The council humbly acknowledges the ancestral homelands of this area's indigenous nations, these lands still inhabited by Native descendants. We honor them, their legacies, their traditions, and their continued contributions. We celebrate their past, their present, and future generations who will forever know this place is home. It's important our rural communities of interest are not placed with the large metro areas. Thank you.
And again, Greg Freestead, are you here? Okay. We'll move on. Thank you. Tom Bergegren, Steve Otto, Glenn Galster, Betty Leon, Cheryl Walker. Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Tom Berger, and I do live here in Payson for about 4 years now. I grew up in Los Angeles, which really sucks now, so I live here in Payson. It's a better rural community. I don't want it to change. I approve of the map the way it is, and I want to keep Payson rural, keep other influences out. I know you guys have been busting your up now for almost a year now. Maybe in January you got to go on a vacation like Cozumel or something. Thanks again. Bye.
Good evening. I'm Betty Leon. I've been a resident of Payson for 18 years. However, my family's been here, Payson and Gila, since territorial days. And I just want to reiterate my support of the latest map for District 7 and for Gila County. And again, my support as has been represented in the 10.2 map. I think that's very important. And as others have stated, Flagstaff doesn't fit for us. They're a college town and really a quite urban town. And also don't wish to support, I don't support pushing us, our District 7, onto the reservation. That doesn't meet their needs or ours. And again, Commission, thank you for your work, your hard work, and for your consideration of our rural needs and concerns. Thank you. Good night.
Good evening, Chairwoman Hebert and Commissioners. My name is Glenn Gelster, and I've been a resident of Payson, Arizona for just 30 years. During that time, I've seen a lot of change, and I have to say that you've done a masterful job compared to your predecessors 11 years ago. And I want to thank you for the hard work. It reminds me of an old saying, no good deed goes unpunished. And you've had a very, very difficult job to go through. So I want to thank you for the job you've done. I want to thank you for, other speakers have already stolen my thunder this evening. I may have had the longest drive to get here. I drove from Cheyenne, Wyoming to get home to be here tonight. But I want to thank you for the conclusions you've drawn for the latest map, and I ditto what many other speakers have said. I'm in complete agreement with the draft map 10.2 and the congressional districts with that. Thank you again. I appreciate your helpfulness and appreciate all the work that you've done on our behalf. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Otto. I'm a Payson resident. I want to thank the whole commission for the opportunity to speak tonight. I am absolutely a supporter of your latest draft map. I think for the communities of interest factor, you've hit the trifecta. We've got pine trees, we got mountains, and we've got a rural population. None of the other folks, Navajo tribe areas, have slick rocks. We have mountains and pine trees. Flagstaff has the college, urban center. We need to keep Payson, we need to keep Gila County rural. We need to keep it a beautiful place to live. And as part of our unofficial shared community of interest, the major wildfires of this last year all occurred on what you have designated for our new district. And that would be our major community of interest aspect of wildfire reduction and keeping our community green instead of burnt and black. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Thank you.
And is Cheryl Walker here? Choose the next one called. Cheryl? No? Okay, our next speakers are then Jeff Bell, Carolyn Switzer, Dina Lundell, Tim O'Malley, and Helen Hebert.
I'm Dinah Lundell. I live in Star Valley. I want to thank you for coming and for being always here. It's very important. So I support the map that keeps Gila County rural. We have interests that are the same. We are not particularly wealthy. We live on the land. We care about the land. We care about the forest, the water, the mining, the things that go on in our community. And I don't believe that we have that much in common with Flagstaff or the tribes. We love our American Indians and we support them. They need to have their own representatives. And Flagstaff is a metropolitan community and our interests are very different. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Carolyn Switzer, and I've lived in or near Payson since 1999. In 2000, I enthusiastically supported Prop 106, the amendment to the Arizona Constitution to create the IRC, especially its mandate to construct fair and competitive maps. I was proud to be a new Arizona resident. As I review the information on the proposed CD2, it does not appear to be even close to competitive. In fact, its 7.6% vote spread even exceeds the commission's stated target of a maximum 7% spread for any congressional district. One of my strong concerns is that we get the best possible candidates for every office and that our elected officials pay attention to all their constituents. When a district is less competitive, the risk is that the election will be decided in one of the primaries rather than by all the voters in the general election. That runs against the constitutional imperative that every voter should have a voice in our democracy. The proposed CDF 010 by the Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission district would be highly competitive with a spread of less than 1%. So I urge you to consider it or something like. That would clearly meet these concerns about candidates and elected officials. In addition, with the largest concentration of Native Americans in the U.S., they would have a better chance to elect a congressional representative of their choice, just as the rest of us do. It's also my opinion that the proposed legislative maps created for Northern Arizona are unnecessarily non-competitive. Thank you for your work.
Good evening. My name is Helen Hebert. I am a resident of Payson, and I want to thank all of you for all of your hard work that you've been doing this year. And I just want to say very briefly that I support your map as it is. We do not need to have anybody else in our district, and we don't need to be pushed into another district. And I plead with you to keep it as it is. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jeff Bell. I'm known as the retired tycoon that came to Payson about 5 years ago. I live in a small community called Chaparral Pines, where most people are just trying to improve their golf game. But sometimes when you get involved in talking to them about a little bit about politics, you find out that they have some interests as well. And what I found out today was that a lot of them expressed to me the desire for me to come here and tell you that we support the map as you've done it. It is a wonderful map for us, and we think it can do the best for our area. The statewide mapping models that you've made as well were reviewed by some of us, and we feel that those are good and should be adopted as well. I want to thank you for all your hard work and invite you anytime to come over to Chaparral Pines and learn a little bit. Thank you.
And a last call for Tim O'Malley. Tim? Don? Okay, thank you. We are now going to take a 5-minute break. It is 7:36, so we will return at 7:41. Hello? Hello, if we could take your seats again, we'll begin with the speakers. Thank you. I'll call out the next 5 speakers. Oh, Erickson. Good to go. Okay. The next 5 speakers are Steve Titla, Codell Goslin, Vince Smith, Bob Daly, and William Mays. And I apologize if I mispronounced any names. Thank you.
Ready? Well, thank you, Honorable IRC Commission, Honorable Chairwoman. We thank you for doing a lot of work on the IRC Commission. What I wanted to say, Honorable Chairwoman, good to see you again. Thank you. And thanks for all your hard work. Regarding the maps, we want to say that San Carlos is a community of interest with the other tribes in the district: White Mountain Apache, Navajo Nation, Hopi Tribe, Havasu Pai, Wallapai, San Juan, Southern Paiute. We are a community of interest. And we would like to stay in a district that is gives us a chance to elect somebody of our choice. Under the Voting Rights Act, our tribal members are entitled to a district that gives us the opportunity to elect candidates of our choice. If the commission were to include Flagstaff and Legislative District 6, it could prevent us from electing candidates of choice into the legislature. In 2004, Native American voters were unable to elect their candidate of choice in the only Native American majority minority district in the state because Flagstaff voters mobilized to defeat the Native American candidate of choice. When the district was redrawn after 2010, LD7, the Native American majority minority district excluded Flagstaff. Flagstaff has grown by over 18% since the last census, a much higher rate than any of the off-reservation border towns in northern Arizona. This means that Native Americans will likely lose the majority during the decade and further be impacted from electing candidates of choice if the commission adopts a final legislative map that includes the city of Flagstaff. Furthermore, the Native Americans are the most underpopulated race in the census. Arizona is ranked #1 in the U.S. with the highest number of American Indians and Alaska Natives living in hard-to-count census tracts, with 68.1% of the state's Native population living in hard-to-count areas. Poverty, lack of broadband service, housing insecurity, language barriers, and the COVID-19 pandemic further increases the risk. Oh,
I have one follow-up on the legislative district maps. There's
Okay.
been several submissions, and when I go online and I look at the different iterations, I'm not always sure I'm looking at the most recent one because I was made aware that the most recent submission had a lower population deviance, which gives us a little more room to work with. Do you have the specific number or letters associated with the legislative map that you're advocating for right
Okay.
now? So I can make sure I'm looking at the right version.
do you mean the legislative district or the congressional?
Correct, the legislative district that you're advocating for.
With regard to the legislative district, we just talked with Navajo Nation this afternoon, and they showed us a map that we conferred upon. And I think that we will probably support that map with the tribe supporting that. And Navajos will be introducing that map to you. And the deviation in that is less than 4, I think it's like 4% in deviation in that map. And the Native American voting age population in that proposed district will be 57%, I think is what it is. So that
Okay,
increase.
are you saying that there's a map that's about to be submitted or what?
Right, that's to be submitted.
Okay, so there is no current map, but
No,
I should look for it in the next day or two.
Right, right.
Thank you
That's
very
what we
much.
support.
That clarifies
Thank you.
things. Okay, thank you.
Chairman Newberg, Vice Chairman Watchman, and Commissioners. Hello, my name is Cody Castillo, an Economic Development Specialist of the San Carlos Apache Tribe. I am in agreement with what Steve Tilla stated in the importance of having a Native American majority-minority legislative district. Currently, the San Carlos Apache Tribe resides within the Legislative District 6 and Congressional District 2. Any proposal to revise district boundaries from the prior redistricting cycle fractions and dilutes the Native American voting strength and the Native American voice. The newly approved LD6 draft map includes Flagstaff. This inclusion will heavily impact the Native American vote and the opportunity to elect candidates of our choice. Please exclude Flagstaff from the LD6 draft map. Thank you.
And again, Vince Smith, Bob Daly, William Mays, are any of those here? No? I will go with the next speakers. Carla Townsend, Bill Mansfield, Ed Strain, Janet Williams, and Marcia Weigert.
Good evening, Commissioner Newberg and fellow commissioners. My name is Janet Williams, and I live in the northwest part of Payson, and I've resided in Payson for 50 years. I raised my 4 children here, and they attended school here. As a rural community, 75 miles from any urban area, support of local businesses, schools, restaurants, forests, and streams is essential and makes us a unique community. I want to thank you for all the hard work and effort that you've done in redrawing the district maps and listening to the people of Arizona. And that being said, I am here also to personally express my support for the current proposed 10.2 map for District 7. And I wanted to say that I believe it fairly encompasses communities of interest and population as laid out in the redistricting objectives. I am totally against the 5+ county map proposal for this district that would include Flagstaff and the reservations in District 7. I respectfully request that what you have fairly professionally proposed and drawn in the 10.2 map be finalized. Please respect the commonality of the towns that you have included in this IRC map. We are limited private property towns and communities surrounded by federal land with common concerns such as fire, water, small industry, tourism, and EMS and law enforcement concerns. Thank you so much for your time.
Hi there, my name is Bill Mansfield. I live in Star Valley, Arizona. I just moved there from Payson, actually. First off, I'd like to thank you all for what you've done and the hard work you put in getting this mapped up here like that. I think it represents our area, our rural interests, and I support your map that you've worked so hard on 100%. I thank you for that. I do want to add that adding Flagstaff to our community interests doesn't make any sense at all. And we really are way too rural to have the same kind of interests that the Indian nations have up there in the Navajo nations. And I really hope that it stays the way that you drew this map up. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Good evening. My name is Ed Strain, and I'm a resident here in Payson. I think I want to thank you for the service that you've done for the state in creating a redistricting map. And I wish to state that I I'm fully behind the IRC draft map that you have presented, fully behind that. And I appreciate your efforts in keeping areas of common concern and interest taken into account, and all the other 4 or 5 requirements that you are required to do by the Constitution. I thank you for the chance to be a small part of your effort, allowing me the opportunity to speak before you. Thank you.
And one last time, Marcia Wigert, Carla Townsend. Okay, the next speakers are Pat Adellen Smith, Louise Basert, Jesse Bryant, Kay Cool, and Jeff Schultheis.
Madam Chair and Commission, my name is Pat Adellen Smith. I have been a resident of Payson since 2015. I moved from a highly urban area to a highly rural area, and that has raised my awareness of the importance of balance in drawing fair and competitive district maps. Much emphasis has been on the communities of interest, and I haven't heard much about the competitive nature. My main concern is the legislative draft map of Northern Arizona legislative districts. The draft maps remove any competitive legislative districts from Northern Arizona, leaving LD 5, 6, 7, and 30 as totally non-competitive. That was unnecessary to achieve the other 5 constitutional criteria, which seems to be a little bit unfair for the Northern Arizona, which our concern should be state, not just local. Having at least one competitive district out of the 4 mentioned is better than having no competitive districts across a broad rural area. Therefore, I'm asking the redistricting committee to consider looking at the alternatives, the 2 that have been proposed as the Coconina Board of Supervisors would be District 7 LDF 050 and District 6 LDF 051. And I understand from our presenter from San Carlos that there may be another one coming up. So I would ask you to look at least getting us one competitive district in our state here in Gila County. Thank you.
My name is Kay Lloyd Cool. I've lived in Payson for 15 years. Thank you for restoring my confidence in this commission. 10 years ago, the map that resulted in the current districting was a little disappointing. In fact, it appeared a little political. The 10.2 version that you've provided, the LD7 and the Congressional District 2 are a fine example of what I think is objectivity and functionality. That says a lot about this commission and the work that you've done. I sincerely hope that you will implement that. Thank you so much for coming to Payson.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for being here. My name is Jeff Schultheis, and I live in the rural community of Payson. I want to thank you for your time and effort in listening to the voices of those who actually live here and would be impacted by any district changes. Due to our both educational and rural economic differences that I have personally witnessed, I want to thank you for keeping communities of similar needs, interests, and visions together. Thank you for considering communities of interest while understanding long-term potential impact within communities as you drew up these maps. In saying that, I would like to address the fact that Flagstaff is very different than our rural areas in terms of education, transportation, economically, just to name a few. Therefore, I do not support any alternate maps that would lose the rural voice. I also do not support forcing our rural communities of District 7 into the reservation. I agree with your current 10.2 District 7 map, Gila County, as well as the CD2 map that you have drawn. Thank you kindly.
Madam Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for being here tonight. I've now been doing these hearings and I can count. It's very good to be here again. Thank you for all you've done. Here, of course, to support the 5 Eastern Counties proposal and to speak on behalf of the tens of thousands of voices that could not be here tonight. We have 10 communities across our region here, as far south as Duncan, as far north as St. John's, who have adopted resolutions to support keeping rural Arizona together, solely rural and undivided. You keep hearing about this rural message tonight, which is fantastic. And you keep hearing about communities of interest. The important thing about communities of interest is that it's about priorities. And so it's whose priorities are going to be spoken for by your representation. That's why it's important to us as rural communities to have our own representation. We are a minority of ourselves, covering about a third of the state. We're not the 4 or 5 million voices in Pima, Maricopa counties arguing over city blocks. It's very important to us, as you have heard, that we do not want urban centers such as Flagstaff in our district. Likewise, Apache Junction, Gold Canyon, and Florence, they do not belong in rural Arizona either. Those urban centers will dominate the elections and the legislative priorities of our people. And they themselves have stated very much that they would rather be in urban districts with themselves. So thank you very much for being here, and I hope you will not ignore our voice as was in 2011. Thank you. I'm sorry. My name is Jesse Bryant, born and raised in Globe, Arizona. Thank you.
And last time for Louise Bassert. Okay, the next speakers are James Oliver, Art Shaler, Terry Lohman, Will Pars, and Sherry Laffey Long.
Good evening. Thank you. Thank you so much for the massive effort you put in for so long. And you guys have been at this for so long. I think it's time we come to some sort of a conclusion. My name is James Oliver. I'm from the thriving community of Tonto Basin. And we are definitely rural. And we like it that way. But I want to thank the mayor of Payson for reaching out to us, because you are our support here. This is where we shop. This is where we go to medical facilities. I'm a veteran, and I'll tell you, it's a long drive to Phoenix, so it's nice to be able to come here to Payson. I really support the map that you've drawn up. It fits perfectly with the interests of our community, of the community surrounding us. I've had quite a bit of contact with Flagstaff and love them. They just don't fit with our community. So I think we should you've done the work. It's time to complete the work. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sherry Lappy Long. I live in Payson as well, and I'm not a comedian, but I want to thank you, and I really want to thank you that I'm on this side and not over there. Bless you all for being here. I support the District 7 map, and the reason being is we are rural, and this whole room is just telling you, please, let's keep it rural. And I want Flagstaff to know we're not disking them. They just don't belong in our district. We have just separate values, separate ways of living, and we cherish that. We live here in Payson for that reason. We love our rural community, and we want to see it stay that way. So thank you all very much, and I just bless you all for being here. Have a good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman, Commissioners. My name is Terry Lohman. I've been a resident of Payson now for 15 years. moving here from Austin, Texas, of all places. And I'm a small business owner and obviously an Army veteran. I would like to say we all have jobs to do. Some we love, some we hate, but no doubt challenging each and every one of them. And I commend you on the task that you all took on and the fine map that you have drawn showing legislative district number 7. And without a doubt, I think it's been overwhelming tonight that the 55 or more speakers, truthfully, I've lost count how many were ahead of me. But overwhelmingly, I think the majority wish to keep the map as drawn. Thank you for your time.
Madam Chairman, good evening. Thank you for your leadership, successfully guiding the commission to what will be a very fine product. And to all the commissioners, thank you for the work that you have put forth for the citizens of Arizona, especially the work of adhering to the community interests and criteria. My name is Art Scher, and I'm here on behalf of the thousands of veterans in Gila County to let you know that we support the map you have prepared. We do not support any alternative map. Keep in mind, you have drawn up maps, including the map that includes my legislative district that properly gives priority to the community's interest. Pushing 70,000 people in Flagstaff into a different district would set off a chain reaction that would distraught the neighboring districts. This would dilute our community interest and the interests that we in Gila County have with other nearby rural communities. As you move forward to completing this project, I ask that you continue to look at the big picture, particularly the communities of interest and their priorities. In my opinion, and the opinion of many veterans, you have produced a workable map that need no further adjustments. Your result is favorable in the entire state of Arizona, and I urge you to keep the maps you have already made and do not ruin a good thing. Thank you. And on behalf of the vets, I'd like to invite you with us to celebrate December 7th, 1941 at the Sawmill Theater, and to celebrate the 13 people that were murdered when they left Afghanistan. Thank you.
Good evening, commissioners. Welcome to Payson. I'm a Purple Heart combat wounded veteran, and I currently am a lawyer and advocate for veterans in our community here in Rim Country, as well as for the indigents that often don't have a voice. I serve as our judge advocate at our American Legion post, and I'm on the board for the Warming Center. So I had some feedback from other people in our community that there's a commonality with our shared interests of having access to basic needs here, because we are geographically isolated as a rural community. We don't have the same support systems here that Flagstaff and Maricopa County and a lot of the urban areas have. The wildfires here this past summer were a perfect example where our community had to come together and take care of our own needs as a community, from the farms to the homeless to the veterans. We all had to pull together to get through the wildfires. These are a lot of our issues here are unique to Rim Country. We all have problems accessing specialty care, food, transportation, our safety net, our access to justice. There are a lot of needs here unique to Rim Country that force us to travel outside of our local area for help, including myself traveling to Flagstaff for medical care or the Valley. So our needs here are best represented by the map that you've drafted, the 10.2 map. I totally support your efforts here and your work here. And I believe that that's our best way forward. Thank you for your time. I'm Will Parz, P-A-R-Z.
And the next speakers are Teresa Kelleher, Gail Buzon, Robert Hershberger, Richard Hinkey, and Lisa Marshall.
Hello, thank you for your hard work. Really have a challenging job. My name is Teresa Kelleher, and I've been associated with Payson for 30 years because a lot of my family lives here. And 7 years ago, we bought a home here, and I've been involved in the community ever since. I teach adult education for Gila County Education Service Agency. And our first lessons for all students are about the Constitution and the importance of being involved citizens. And being involved means knowing our rights and responsibilities and speaking up to be heard by our representatives in government, a government by the consent of the governed. The more citizens who participate, the better our government will function and the stronger our democracy will be. Over the life of our democracy, several amendments have been made to guarantee that all citizens have the right to vote and that when they're informed and involved, they're more likely to vote. And the best way to encourage voting is to be sure that our legislative and congressional districts are fair and represent all citizens in the state, in the districts, excuse me. When each citizen knows that he or she is being heard, we indeed have fair representation. All voters in Northern Arizona need to rest assured that their individual votes count. Competitive districts are a must. And I don't feel like we're there yet. Please work to balance our Northern Arizona districts and make sure that all citizens in Northern Arizona have a voice. You've heard a lot of people talk about rural Arizona. There's a lot of rural Arizona that's being treated separately here than in other situations. We've heard from a lot of speakers on the reservations, for example. But I do want to thank you for your continued good faith efforts to work together to find balanced districts for all constituents in Northern Arizona. Thank you.
Madam Chair and members of the commission, my name is Robert Hershberger. I've lived here about 20 years. I'm a veteran. I'm now a full-time student at Gila Community College, taking 13 hours. I appreciate very much all the effort that you've put in. As all the other speakers have said, this is a big task and you're doing a fantastic job with it. The one thing I would ask you is to make an effort to respect the desires of the Native Americans to have a district, legislative and congressional, that is competitive to where their voices can be heard. Thank you very much.
My name is Richard Hinkey. I'm a retired U.S. Army officer, proud to have served for 23 years. Last duty was at the Pentagon, got to destroy a Russian nuclear missile. It was a good thing. What I'm trying to say to you tonight is, in addition to a huge thank you, I can't imagine the tasks that you have been through and all of the feedback and how to sort through all of this. I would just suggest to you that what you are about is so vital to American democracy. Think about the divisions in our country right now. Think about the fact that our Congress at the national level is stuck. They can barely get anything done. So I'm a huge advocate for every single legislative congressional district must be competitive. If it is not competitive, then either side can produce the crazies that you know are in the media. We don't need to discuss who they are at the moment, right? If in fact they are competitive, then both the rural and the urban, if the districts are together, whatever it takes, they're going to have to pay attention to all of the constituents. If we don't have competitive districts, then we have failed. I'm sorry. So I thank you so much for your hard work. But please, when the last vote is taken, just ask yourself, have we got competitive legislative and congressional districts? Please. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lisa Marshall and I'm from Snowflake, Arizona. So I am from rural Arizona. Thank you, Madam Chair, and all of y'all. Thank you. A little nervous because I don't like to speak. Anyhow, so I agree with the maps that you have put at 10.2. I can't even imagine the sleepless nights that y'all have had putting this together. And I know that you're very tired right now. I could just look at your eyes, you want to fall asleep. But honestly, I think right now the maps look great the way they are, LD7 and CD2. We are rural Arizona. Flagstaff has really no community of interest with our areas. I'm originally from California, from Orange County, and I know like all the big cities, all the big buildings. The first time we moved to Arizona in Snowflake, I was like, holy cow, there's more cows than people out here. But I love it. We're small town and we're a community that we love the rural area. And so that being said, I just say that 10.2 is good. I don't think we need to have any more maps out there. This has been going on for how long? I mean, it's time to put them together. And so anyway, thank you for your time.
And the last time for Gail Buzon. Okay, we'll move on. Kelly Rail, Barbara Bunton, Catherine Mordair, Joseph Fleming, and Lawrence Turley.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Rell. I am from Show, Arizona, and I'm a combat veteran. I am a native Arizona, multi-generational. I'm here. I drove all the way from Show because I want to say thank you for the maps that you have laid out thus far. I believe that everybody wins with the 7.2 map. I believe the tribal nations should be represented by tribal members. And I think rural Arizona should be represented by rural candidates. Last year, when we had the COVID lockdowns, while many businesses in the White Mountains were suffering, our state representatives were living underneath the President Nez's draconian lockdowns. They couldn't relate to the small business owners. And I believe that everybody will win in this situation as it is now. I just want to also just point out that this is such a pinnacle moment in our nation's history. And I just pray to God that everybody's voice is heard. And with the 10.2 map, I believe it's a great opportunity to create more bipartisanship. I believe more conservatives need to understand tribal nation issues. And so I believe that this will be a more competitive district. And I just thank you for your time.
My name is Joseph Fleming. I'm a resident of Payson. I'm a combat wounded veteran. Flagstaff basically has three industries: transportation with the railroad, skiing and tourism, and a university. The rest of this district is basically agriculture and retirement and cattle. The basis of trying to adjust everybody having an equal vote, which is the premise of the Constitution, if you include Flagstaff in this district, it would overwhelm the rest of the vote. We can't compete with their money and their population. Please don't include them in my district.
My name is Catherine Mortar. I live in Payson. I'm totally against the project that will destroy our beautiful town of Payson. Thank you.
And one last time for Barbara Bunton and Lawrence Turley. Okay, we'll move on. Heidi Swati, Gabriel Schultz, Marcy Epps, Paul Afelt, and Sylvia Allen.
Hello, my name is Gabriel Schulteis. I'm 19 years old and I'm representing the youth of Payson, Arizona. I'd like to bring to the attention of the IRC the sociological impact of combining Gila County with the Navajo County. My concern is that the current district set and layout may unintentionally become a systematic form of oppression against American minorities. As a student of sociology, I've studied racial suppression tactics of days long gone and have outlined a disturbing truth. Native voices have been muffled and silenced by systems that wish to mix their common interests with our own. It's my belief that the American voice is of equality and of freedom, and that the voices of Native Americans should carry their own voting weight separate from white rural American communities. As a Brotherhood member of the Order of the Arrow, Lodge Whipplewickie, I strongly suggest that we should preserve Native American culture by keeping the prior, more competitive district layout. Thank you.
My name is Jerry Epps, and I live in Overgard. The 10 resolutions that have been adopted as far as south as Duncan, as far north as St. John's, and as far west as Superior. A diversity background of voices have been calling for the same goal. Mayors and vice mayors, county supervisors, even the fire district chief have all advocated for 5+ eastern counties, all an effort to reestablish a rural legislative district in rural eastern Arizona. We join our neighbors of urban Apache Junction, Gold Canyon, and Santan Valley to respect their communities of interest, as well as urban must be joined with urban, and rural must be joined as rural. Do not diminish either of our votes and voices by mixing and combining us. We respect our reservation neighbors, but rural eastern Arizona communities are not their communities of interest. Remove our communities, incorporate our unincorporated and their district, and keep like-minded Flagstaff with the Navajo Nation. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for sticking it out with us. I'm Sylvia Allen, former Arizona State Senator for District 5 and District 6, and former Navajo County Supervisor. I want to bring a different perspective to the argument here. When I represented District 5, that district was created as a community of interest of rural communities, and it was a true rural district. And in that, I was able to work with everybody because we were focusing on our issues. The district was created that way. And people from Miami Globe will tell you that during that time, we were represented by both Republicans and Democrats. It didn't matter. We were working on our same issues. And then when District 6 was created, it was created as a competitive district. And then it became Republican-Democrat. I could tell such a difference in when we create these legislative districts, when we create them versus communities of interest to competitive. Then when I would go to Flagstaff and they were more urban and their philosophical, the way they believed, the things that they wanted was in direct conflict with the other part of the district, and it became harder to represent them. I also noticed that in these last 10 years, the politics has become extremely nasty and hateful because we're into this competitive stuff instead of into trying to have districts that have issues in common, because then we'll work together. I think your draft legislative District 6 map is exactly what the Indian community has asked for. And Flagstaff, I know from serving there, that they philosophically, they work to help them with education. They fit perfectly with the tribe. I also know that our communities, Sholo and Pine Top, have asked, their city councils have passed resolution, have asked to be able to be put in with communities of interest because we have issues that are different than on the reservation. Thank you very much.
And one more time, Heidi Swati, Paul Afelt. Okay, then we have about 10 to 11 names left. I'll call the next 5. Cliff Potts, Andrew Costanzo, Jerry Epps, Jim Vance, and Diana Reiswick.
Good evening, Commissioner Newberg and commission members. Really appreciate y'all coming up to Payson. It's not very often we get to address leaders from around the state, and we thank you for your time. I've lived in Payson for 40 years. My name is Cliff Potts, and I've been involved in community affairs a good part of that time. I served terms as a council member and as mayor, and I have really experienced firsthand the rural versus urban disparity amongst our elected officials. Just like past Senator Allen just said, was that the people that represent rural areas and rural interests understand that, and they can be our voice and our advocate. Just as you've heard from these voices tonight, you know that there is a voice in rural Arizona, but when it gets translated down into the Maricopa and Pima counties, we become overwhelmed with the interest and the voices there. We have to have, for our rural areas, strong advocates. For that reason, I really want to speak against the alternative map that's been proposed that would lump us in with a good part of Flagstaff. We need rural representation. So I do support the 10.2 maps that you've proposed. I think that you were called on to exercise the wisdom of Solomon with additional limitations that he didn't even experience. And you've done a great job with it. And I appreciate what you've done. And I would ask that you continue to do this. My experience in transportation issues just carries this out. When we're overwhelmed in getting our roads taken care of, you've heard Lion Springs mentioned, just a little section of Highway 260 that's in serious need of improvement. And if we don't have our representatives to exercise that voice, those things don't happen. Thank you again.
Hi, my name is Diana Reiswick, and I'm a resident of Payson. I'm not a congressman, I'm not a commissioner, I'm not any of those things. I want to thank you guys for doing that. But what I have done tonight is I've listened to the people. And the majority of the people here tonight are concerned with the same things, and that's with the rural being combined with each other. So I also support the 10.2 and the 7 district that you've done, and I thank you for your hard work. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the commission for their hard work. Your efforts are very important to our Republican form of government. My name is Andrew Costanzo. I am a former chairman of Legislative District 27 Republican Committee. The redistricting that created LD 27 did not maintain communities of interest. This resulted in disenfranchisement among the electorate. This was evident on both sides of the aisle. This what happened in what is a urban community. So now, by the grace of God, I live in rural Gila County. So I'm very concerned, again, about the potential to not have communities of interest. So I ask you to please make that your utmost consideration. And I do support the 10.2 maps. And I thank you very much for your time.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, I'm grateful that you took the time to listen to us today. When I was 2 years old, I talked my parents into moving to Arizona. We went straight to Chandler. It was tough, but I did it. And we used to come up here on the mountain and go hunting and fishing and teaching the people up here how to play softball and stuff like that. And it was great. Back then, Chandler consisted of 5,000 people. It was known as the green spot of Arizona and also the home of Williams Air Force Base. When you go to Chandler today, you don't recognize it. And I moved up here to be a part of rural Arizona. And I love it up here. I'm from Arapine, Arizona. And that's, I think the majority of the people in Arapine moved out today. They took out 10 head of cattle. And I like it that way. Anyway, I love what you did with LD6 and LD7. I think that the people that I'm used to being around feel much more represented now. And I hope you leave the proposed map the way it is. And I like what you did with Flagstaff as well. And thank you very much. My name's Jim Vance from Arapine, Arizona.
And then one last call for Jerry Epps. Okay, these are our last speakers. Louise Liggett, Deborah Hunt, Bev Miller, Kelly Parks, Frank Pacino, and then Donna Dooley.
Good evening, commissioners. I thank you for being here. I thank you for listening to us. I hope you're still awake. We're still here. Anyway, I support IRC draft map LD7 with changes to establish a 5+ Eastern Counties rural and undivided district. I used to live in the city. I came from Southern California. I had different interests. Now I'm rural. There's so many retirees and veterans and people who just came out here to breathe. We just want to breathe. We want to look at rocks and trees and clouds. And we love the rain, nature. We also support IRC draft map LD6, the Native American district combined with Flagstaff. We thank you for that. We like that. And I would just like to say to the Native Americans that all Republicans are not evil. We are not your enemies. I was listening at the beginning when they were speaking, and it was like the Republicans against the Native Americans, and I don't understand that. I'd like to get to know more of you and talk with you and love you and bless you, and thank you for being here in Arizona with us. Thank you for listening. God bless you. Oh, Louise Liggett of Snowflake, Arizona. Snowflake comes from two different families, the Snow family and the Flake family. We are not snowflakes.
Hi, my name is Deborah Hunt, and I'm a 4th generation native Arizonan. and I'm of a copper mining and a ranching family, and I live in Hebert, Arizona, the best part of Arizona. And I was raised in Hayden, and I've always been concerned about living in a rural area and being represented. The Coconino County Board of Supervisor map that's being pushed by our reservation neighbors does not serve the interest of the rural Arizona at all. Communities of interest is about one thing: priorities. Whose priorities will your legislatures work for in the next 10 years? I want rural legislators with rural priorities. I support the IRC draft map 10.2, and I would hope that the IRC would continue to make this map as rural as possible so that our representatives will work to make our rural issues a priority. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Parks, and I am from the most remote rural town of Arizona, Young. Have you been there? Have you? Because, yeah, it took me about an hour and a half on a very windy, dirt, washboardy road to get here. And I represent many people that wouldn't take that drive to come here. And so I really appreciate the venue that you have provided us to come and have a voice in a very remote place that normally we wouldn't have the chance to come and say what we feel. So thank you, Madam and Commissioners, for this opportunity. I too am a native Arizonan, 4 generations. I've lived here my whole life. I come from actually Mesa, Arizona. My ancestors settled Mesa, but I live now in a rural town. So I can see the contrast, and I know I've run businesses down in Mesa, and now I'm in rural Arizona. And so I see the contrast, and I can see how, as has been explained very well, the contrast does not lead to, it leads to a lot of chaos and a lot of division, a lot of divisiveness, which we are so tired of right now in our country. So I don't think that a competitive solution would be the best thing. I've come to love and embrace the rural town. And I am actually a leader in the town that I'm in. I'm on the town councils, boards, church leadership, library boards. I've tried to get very involved. And so I do represent a very small town, but they do have a voice though, and I could not stay home and not come and represent them. They are in favor of the 2.2 map that you have currently proposed. Thank you so much for your time and for this venue. Thank you.
And I'll call once again Bev Miller, Frank Pacino, and Donna Dooley. No, well, that concludes the speakers in Payson. Oh, I'm sorry.
You are here tonight because you are very, very, very important people. I have researched how you got here. You were chosen for this position. You are 5 of the most important people right now in the state of Arizona. And I believe you know that. It is not about politics, whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, an independent. It is about the state of Arizona. Not Northern Arizona, not Payson, not Flagstaff. The state of Arizona. I have lived in Tempe, Mesa. I have lived in Phoenix. I have vacation property up in Flagstaff. And now I'm living here in Payson. I can tell you from years of raising my family in the valley and being up here, Payson is very different than Flagstaff, very different than Mesa, very different than Tempe. You have been selected by the legislature of Arizona to do the most important job for the next 10 years, the redistricting of the state of Arizona and the election. You will affect this entire state, not northern Arizona, the entire state. It is an honor to have you with us tonight. It is an honor to know how you were selected, how you got here. And I hope and pray that you will do for the state of Arizona what you feel is the best, and ask God to bless and help you in this decision. Thank you for being here. Thank you for what you're doing and what you're giving.
And with that, that concludes our speakers in Payson. Thank you.
On behalf
And I
of
will
all,
send it over to Commissioner Meal. Thank you.
on behalf of all five of our commission, I just want to express tonight how wonderful a night this is. And each one of the listening meetings that we've had over a dozen, and it's probably closer to 15 of these meetings, and the public has been incredible. You share our passion for this state of Arizona, and all of the things that are expressed are really helpful and meaningful to us. So we really appreciate the time and effort that each of you have put into coming tonight and spending your time to help us to understand the state better and to make better decisions. So with that, I'd like to remind you that you can go online also. Anyone who's listening tonight or was here and not able to speak, you can go online and submit a map using our mapping software at irc.az.gov. We'll be in the East Valley tomorrow evening. We have another virtual meeting on Friday. We'll be in Tucson on Saturday. We'll start drawing the final lines on Monday. So there's a lot of work ahead of us. And we thank everyone tonight. And with this, we adjourn the meeting. Thank you.